I am Mike Giardi, the guy with the backwards hat. With me, as always, Will Parkinson. This is the All 32 Pod, a proud member of the CLNS Media Network, sponsored by the #1 daily fantasy sports app in North America, Prize Picks. Enter the code CLNS when you first register to get $50 off. We are going to do on this program the best defensive coordinators in football, which is a much longer list to cull through than the offensive coordinator, because so many of the offensive coordinators, as we talked about earlier this week, happen to be the head coach as well, not so much on the defensive side of the ball. But again, we'll keep it to just coordinators and not head coaches who also call defense, like, say, Todd Bowles. But before we do that, yeah, you see the smile on both of our faces. Aaron Rodgers, who has said he was beholden to no one, free to do whatever he wanted, but we all knew that he still wanted to play football, had the conversations with Minnesota, and had been stringing along Pittsburgh. Well, the deal is done. He will be a Pittsburgh Steeler. He will report to mandatory minicamp. And all I can think of, Will, is, well, two things. One, Pittsburgh needed it. You can't do Mason Rudolph. We've seen it. You've lived it. There's a ceiling to that. And maybe there's the ceiling to Aaron Rodgers, but I'll still take the high end of Aaron Rodgers, even from last year, over anything that Mason Rudolph has ever given us. And two, Mike Tomlin, who was a big proponent of this, I don't know that Mike Tomlin's going to love the Aaron Rodgers experience. So those were my two big takeaways from it.
Yeah, Mr. 10Ms is not, in fact, playing for 10Ms.
No.
Shocker after all that
such a
misinformation.
Just shut up and just play.
Yeah, enough, dude. Enough. Yeah, look, I think that the biggest storyline is Rodgers obviously coming back. I think this is probably his last year, I would assume, unless things go amazing and he wants to play longer. He said 3 or 4 years before week one of the Jets, when he tore the Achilles, 3 or 4 years, and this would be lining up with his timeline. I think the Steelers didn't really have a choice. They wanted Justin Fields back. Justin Fields said no. The Jets gave him guaranteed money in year 2. The Steelers wouldn't do it. And the Steelers were kind of put themselves in this situation. They didn't reach for Shedeur or anything like that. After those interviews didn't seemingly go well, as we talked about. And they ended up with Rodgers, or they seemingly said the whole time they knew Rodgers clearly didn't want to be around for the off-season stuff, especially after last year where it became such a big storyline and he got kind of villainized with the Egypt stuff. He gets to play the NFC North. He'll go back, he'll get to play Green Bay. He'll play the Jets week 1. There's a bunch of storylines. The attention will be on him all year, whether they're good or not. I think Rodgers ended up playing, I assume based off of last year, he'll look a lot like last year, where every third quarter, like every, 1, 2, 3, not like the actual third quarter in a game, he'll look amazing. He'll look like Aaron Rodgers. And then the other quarters, he'll look like a pedestrian quarterback that doesn't trust anything he's seeing. He wants to be in the perfect play all the time. The running game will suffer because he changes out of every goddamn running play. The Jets were the last ranked running team in the NFL last year, not just because they weren't good, because they didn't run the football ever. That wasn't the coaching staff's decision. So yeah, look, I think it's big news, but it kind of felt like this was inevitable. It was kind of more of what do you report during camp? What do you report during mandatory mini camp? I think this gives Rodgers a way to he's on the field and then he gets to go away for a little bit again. It's like an easy I'm in and then I'm out. That's what Rodgers likes to do, that type of stuff. So yeah, look, we're going to get into defensive coordinators, but look, Rodgers will get to play 5 of the most televised games all year with Steelers Lions and Steelers Packers and Steelers Vikings and Steelers Jets and Steelers Bears.
What do you think the Steelers Jets is going to sound like?
I would say the Steelers travel well, so I would say it's probably 25% Steelers fans that are pumped to be there. I think there's 5% of Steelers fans, maybe it's 70-30, 5% that want nothing to do with Rodgers being on the Steelers, but they're just pumped because the Steelers are playing. Yeah, I would say there's 10% of Jets fans that will be like, oh, we should have kept them, especially if they start off slow, and it'll be the whole annoying thing. The rest of the building will be mother effing Aaron Rodgers until the cows come home. That dude was getting booed last year at home games. So I would assume, especially, it's lucky for the networks, it's not a late game because the tailgates in MetLife, the beers continue to get consumed throughout the day, and when it's hot out and the whole things kind of start to fly around a little bit. So yeah, I think for everyone involved, it's probably good. It's a 1:00 game, but yeah, I think that building is going to be a zoo, and it's going to be you're going to get at least on prize picks, the more or less 5.5 burned jerseys shown on. I will take.
Yeah, I do wonder if this is the best thing for Justin Fields, because say Rodgers gets off to a fast start against the Jets, Fields doesn't. Like people are then that 10% get louder. Does the 10% grow to 20%, 25%? But I mean, it's pretty sweet. I mean, it would be sweeter if it was at 8:00 at night, but it'll be pretty sweet.
We will get our guy Jason McCourty on the call. He always jokes about how he's the D team, but hey, they screwed up. They might have given Jason the game already.
Yeah, he might have the game of the entire weekend. Let's move on to defensive coordinators. I find it to be a fascinating list. And again, as I mentioned, sticking to strictly coordinators, not head coaches, who also call defensive plays. And so as I'm going over the list, there's so many guys on this list that I like, but particularly at the top, that I had a hard time saying like, oh, he's the best. Like Brian Flores from week to week can be the best. Steve Spagnuolo has done a fantastic job and been sort of the heart of their second half of this dynasty, if you will, with Mahomes and what they've done defensively. And then, of course, Vic Fangio, who was unwanted in Miami. How do those guys look now that Vic Fangio is the defensive coordinator of a team that won the Super Bowl, really riding the wave of an outstanding defense, especially in the postseason? So I guess for me, just based on recent history, you could say Vic, but I'm going to say Steve, because I think Spagnuolo does such an awesome job. He's so creative. I think you saw it. Look at last year. Think of the AFC Championship game. Think of 4th and 5. The Buffalo Bills are in the right play. They've got pre-snap motion. They understand they're playing man, and they understand this. They got crossers. Everything is going to work out perfectly. And he dials up a blitz that they weren't ready for. And Trent McDuffie screams in, and that's the ball game. And it feels like there's been a lot of that in recent years with this version of the Kansas City Chiefs, where as much as the headlines go to Mahomes and Kelsey, the real heart and soul, or at least the backbone of that team, has been the defense and what Spagnuolo's gotten out of it. And I just, even last year, I know it fell apart in the Super Bowl, but you could make the argument that maybe they weren't a Super Bowl type team and the coaching helped get them there.
Yeah, no, I agree. Spags, similar to Andy Reid, it's just like hard to argue with. It's hard to argue with the pedigree. Flores is one, and we'll touch on in a second. One name I don't know if you were going to mention or not. I have no idea. We did not compare list. Dennis Allen arguably might be the best defensive coordinator in the league, and at the same time might be the worst damn head coach in the league. It is.
Again, we did not exchange notes. We did not exchange notes, but he was 4th on my list, and one of the things I wrote down next to his name was awful head coach, tremendous coordinator.
I don't know how many people watch The Office. I assume most people. When he is a defensive coordinator, he is date night Mike. Head coach. It's insane. Like, hats on forward guy, cannot coach any type of football. Yeah. Puts the hat on backwards, goes back to post caffeine Michael Scott, and it's like he's the best defensive coordinator I've ever seen. Like the way those Saints defenses year after year, not always with the most talented units, all these different things. Look, Chicago's got a lot of talent at different roles at different spots in that defense. I think they've got an elite corner. I think they've got good backers, really good defensive line. Whether they can rush the passer or not, we'll see. But like Flores and Dennis Allen in the same division, two guys who, as your head coach, you are holding your breath at all times. Right. As a DC, you're like, dude, we're gonna totally throttle that opposing, especially a young quarterback. So that NFC North division where Shepard should do a good job and Hafley did a good job last year, like that might be the strongest group of defensive coordinators in one division. Looking through it, maybe you could argue the AFC West. We'll get to one of the other guys in Minter in a second, but like that's a really good group in that division. Obviously, Shepard, Allen, new hires, Hafley in 2024, and then Flores a couple years ago. It's a really, really nice group of DCs.
Yeah, I mean, Allen, so it's interesting, his sort of style, the 4-3, the bigger defensive end sort of plays to what Chicago already has on its roster. He doesn't blitz a ton, although he's generally had the right touch when he does. Having Johnson at corner is massive, gives him that sort of shutdown guy on the outside. He leaned more, I think, the last couple of years into press coverage, which I think, again, plays to some of Johnson's strengths. So, yeah, I like that fit. I thought that was a really smart hire by Ben. Hey, I've got the offense. You're not expecting the same results of Gerard Mayo and Alex Van Pelt, but, hey, as Mayo said, he's the HC of the offense. Like in this case, Dennis Allen would appear to be the HC of the defense. Well, Ben takes a look at big picture and, of course, calls the plays on offense. You talk about Flores, and there was a great article, and I remember reading it at the time. It was, I want to say it's October of this past season. It's in The Athletic. It just talks about how even the players that are playing for him can't believe the balls that he has, the way he calls things, the way things change from week to week. I forget who it was. One of the players is quoted saying, it's like wild. You can't even, I've played other places. You come here and you get presented this stuff and you're like, huh? What? That's going to, and then it works. And then it's like, everybody's like, oh my God, guy's a genius. And everybody buys in. They've gotten him better talent, from what he was 2 years ago to what he was last year. I think it's a, better group again this year. So can they be even better than they've been? He seems to push the right buttons. And to your point, as a head coach, no thank you. But as a DC, where you can just sort of do your thing and you only have to talk to the media once a week, and like you don't have to do post game, you don't have to talk to the quarterback. Like, perfect. He's really good at that. And again, maybe he grows and he gets another opportunity to be a head coach. But there is no shame in being an awesome defensive coordinator, getting paid, whatever, $1.5 million, $2.5 million, $3 million a year to coordinate that defense. And he's done a great job. And I think he's got more toys to play with even this year. So I think it should be even better.
Yeah, there's a group. I want to touch on one guy who I think will be a head coach in 12 months, but I want to just touch on this group. Saleh, obviously Robert Saleh in San Francisco, Brandon Staley in New Orleans, Ulbrich in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to touch. We touched on Fangio, Patrick Graham in Vegas, Vance Joseph in Denver, Indy with Anarumo, Schwartz in Cleveland, Al Golden in Cincinnati, like Steve Wilkes with the Jets. There is a huge group of retreads. A lot of those guys are good DCs. Yeah. Wilkes and Saleh, again, guys that I think are more made to be coordinators than head coaches. We'll see. In both cases, maybe Wilkes gets another shot if things go well. Saleh almost got the Jags job by all accounts. So I want to talk about Jesse Minter. I don't know if people would have him in their top 5 or top 10. He'd be in my top 7 or 8. Look at that Chargers roster again from last year and what they were doing. Jim Harbaugh doesn't bring you somewhere if you're not a dog. Like there is, especially on the defensive side of the football, where Jim's handling all the offensive stuff and the quarterback things. Like he's got to trust you. And I don't know. I was really impressed with Minter. I could not believe he did not get head coaching interview. I know they fell apart at the end of the season in general. I think that team overachieved so much that it kind of that's what happens naturally. But man, that dude was awesome at Michigan. That defense in Michigan was unbelievable. Pretty much the entire defense is in the league now. They were amazing. He leaves. They stink. On defense, not on defense. They were good on defense still, but a lot of those, I don't know. Minter to me is just he's a stud, and I would be really surprised if he's not a head coach in this league. I'll say within 24 months, but specifically probably next year.
Yeah, I didn't love the Chargers offseason. So that, to your point, it may be another cycle. For them to sort of continue to rebuild their team as they get over some cap stuff and do different things there. But he did an awesome job with that group. And they dealt with some injuries too. And obviously with the age, I mean, any team that has Joey Bosa on it, you're dealing with injuries. But in other spots as well, Samuel at corner, lost him for a good portion of the year as well. So it wasn't that easy for him to sort of piece it together. And yet he did for week after week after week until they kindly sort of broke near the end of the year. Before we continue with the list, and before I give you my surprising name that he's not in the top 5, but he's just on the outside looking in, but could be knocking on that door. We got to hear from Prize Picks. You've got the basketball finals. The hockey finals just started. We're taping this Thursday. It started Wednesday night. Phenomenal game, overtime game. Edmonton wins game 1. Baseball in full swing right now. Just pick more or less on 2 players up to 6 to win 2,000 times your money on Prize Picks. You can cross sports. You can, Aaron Judge more than a half a home run because he's awesome. Pair that with, I don't know, Chet Holmgren. Is he going to go nuts in game 1? Because let's face it, Indiana not that great inside. Holmgren, rim protector, rebounder. You can put numbers on all those things, on blocks, on rebounds, etc. Combine them together. Again, up to as many as 6 players, up to 2,000 times your cash. So just download the app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 off your first $5 download the app. Use the code CLNS to get $50 off your first 5. Prize Picks, run your game. So as I was hinting at prior to, this may surprise you, but I liked what Chris Shula did. And there was obviously a huge amount of influx of young talent to that Rams defense last year. But you saw early in the year, boy, it didn't look good. And you're like, did they make a mistake here? Is he not the right guy for this? Or did they overvalue some of these young players? Well, those young players progressed in part because Chris Shula did an awesome job putting them in the right places. And they became, by the second half of the year, one of the best defenses in football. We've talked about it quite a bit. They were the only team that pushed Philadelphia in the postseason. Yeah, they gave up 28 points. They still have a problem against the run. They played lighter boxes, less so than they had in previous years, but still that was something that Philadelphia was able to take advantage of. They'll probably have to scheme it up a little differently when they see him again this year, if they see him again down the line. However, I just like what he did. I also like, I sort of went into his background, and I was like, he's one of those guys that has done every level, position groups. He's worked his way up the staff, and Sean McVay, who's a really smart offensive mind, trusted him to run his defense. And Sean is invested in everything. But again, he's still an offense first guy. He trusted Chris to sort of lord over that defense, put guys in the right spot. And again, the player development part of that can't be overlooked. I think when you're dealing with that many young players, you have to simplify the message. He did. They played fast. They played strong. They were a really good football team defensively in the second half of the year. So I have him as sort of, he's not there yet, but boy, with that group all coming back, another year together, maybe get a little bit more exotic. We'll see, but I think Chris Shula is knocking on that door.
Yeah, and again, we're just not going to talk a ton about Fangio because he's been in our lives for so damn long, and it's just like not even worth it. Shula's a good call. Last one, Mike, I'll give you here. I mentioned his name before. Jim Schwartz is a guy who, again, I don't know if he was maturity-wise ready to be a head coach when he was, and a million other different things, right? He's a little Greg Williams vibes-ish. Mm-hmm. Probably a more successful or less controversial version of Greg Williams, although Schwartz will go and punch you right in the mouth if you challenge him.
Yeah.
Him and Stefanski have felt like, and again, I don't want to just crush Andrew Barry, but it does feel like at some level, those guys individually, if they were on the market, would be picked up in a heartbeat. And it feels like they've maximized potential out of a unit. Like, there's some really good players in that Browns defense, but like JOK fell because of the heart thing, and then like has been awesome. And obviously Myles Garrett is Myles Garrett. There's no question about it. Denzel Ward, again, these guys are fantastic players, but like Schwartz has done a really good job. And there's the weird home road splits at times, especially 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. Like at home, they're the best defense in the NFL, and it wasn't close. So I don't know if Schwartz will ever get a head coaching job again. I doubt it. But he's probably in that Spags, not same level, but that class where it's like him and Flores and these guys, like maybe they don't ever get a head coaching job again, but like they'll just make $3 or $4 million a year and just be like a top 7 guy at their role, and something to be said for that, frankly.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Mike Maddox of like pitching coach, where it's like you're not really a good manager, but if you're our pitching coach, we know
we're in a good place. It's a good call. He feels like he wears out his welcome. He tends to, it's a 3-4 years here. Go consult 1 year somewhere else. Then, hey, he's really smart. You should hire him. Same thing, sort of ends up being a burnout. I want to mention the Patriots situation to end the show. But before we do, Vance Joseph is in my top 5. I don't know if he was in your top 5. I put him in my top 5. We did mention him. What I love about him is he took what Brian Flores has been doing with the blitzing, and he put it on steroids. They were blitzing like 50% of the time last year. You watched it in person, what they did to the Jets. They had an awesome year. He's same thing. Like, I don't know that he's probably gonna get another crack to be a head coach. He probably, well, I don't want to say he shouldn't. It just didn't go very well the first time. We'll see. He might just be, again, one of those guys that Josh McDaniels on offense, Flores on defense. You're a defensive coordinator, and it's no shame in that. You can be awesome at your job. He was awesome for Sean last year.
Bring back being a coordinator being cool again. Like, why did it become where, like, I guess I get it to some extent, but what's wrong with these guys? Like, somebody being an awesome, like, maybe Robert Saleh is just a good defensive coordinator.
Right.
That's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, most guys used to make a huge living of, like, hey, they're just offensive coordinators and they're amazing at it and they go different places. Like, I don't know. I know it's a weird example, and Mike Martz did make a Super Bowl, but, like, if Mike Martz was just an OC his whole career and, like, never, I don't know, man, like, he'd probably still be an OC in the league. And sometimes it's okay. Like, if you're just, I know offense. That's my thing. I know hitting. I know catching. Whatever it is. It's just like, I don't know. It's okay.
It really is. There are certainly worse ways to make a living. And you don't look, there's a lot of pressure, but you don't have to do the whole thing. You just got to worry about those 11 guys on defense as opposed to the 53 that are sitting in the locker room, waiting on every word you utter and practice schedules and et cetera. The big decisions, just coach defense, just manage those guys. And some guys are really good at being able to take that group and speak to them in the right language and get the right production. I wanted to end on this. So the Patriots hired Terrell Williams to be their defensive coordinator. It was with Mike Vrabel the entirety of Vrabel's time in Tennessee. Obviously, Mike got bounced. Terrell bounced as well. Terrell went over to be the run game coordinator, defensive line coach for the Lions last year. A lot of challenges there because of the number of injuries that, Aaron Glenn, the DC, and he had to deal with. And yet they were still incredibly competitive until, honestly, like, defensively, it probably fell off in about mid-December is when it just was like, we're too many Band-Aids on this thing. But so Williams is hired to be a first-time defensive coordinator after coaching the league for 25 years, former collegiate nose tackle. Great opportunity. I think everybody that I talked to about him around the hire and since was like, it's overdue. He deserved his shot to be a DC. Great leader of men, really smart, has historically gotten a lot of production out of his defensive line group. Suffered a health scare that has kept him away from the football team. It happened during what he called spring break, but we have not seen him with the football team. He was around in the spring, has not been with the team for OTAs, for rookie minicamp, and no one is really talking. They say he's progressing. We got to talk to him a few weeks ago after Vrabel told us right prior to rookie minicamp that Terrell was not going to be with the team because of his health. He was advised by his doctor to stay in Detroit. I'm just giving you the background here, and he's been in Detroit. He remains involved with the team. He meets with the team via Zoom. He meets with the defense. He's obviously watching practice tape, critiquing players. Zach Kerr is the sort of interim defensive coordinator who was also with Vrabel in Tennessee and with Terrell. So Zach said that he and Terrell are talking quite a bit as well. But there feels like there's no Mike doesn't want to put timetables on anything anyways, but it doesn't feel like anybody has a good read for when Terrell's going to be back. There's so many, as we talked about with the Jets, there's so many good vibes and like, oh boy, they've really, the coaching staff, you feel good about so many different things that they're doing. But this is that one thing in the back of your head that says like, okay, when is this not like, it's not good that he's not been here, but you got to do what's best for your family and your health. There's nothing more important than that. I'm not saying that, but it's like, when does it start to impact the football team? Mike obviously has his background in defense, so you probably don't feel like you're hurting too bad there. But you want Mike to be the head coach. You want him to oversee everything, and you wanted Terrell with Mike in the headset, but you wanted Terrell to be calling the defense. And now I don't know how that's going to play. Because you just don't know. So again, we hope that Terrell is back sooner rather than later, and that his health is good and he's good to go. But it's when you're talking about it from a football aspect, not from a human aspect, this is a bit of a challenge for the football team.
Yeah, no, look, sorry to add more than that. I just think there's some of those situations where a bit unforeseen, and it'll be interesting to see how it develops. Again, I don't think it'll fully hurt them, but I think you'd like to have him there, and you hope he's healthy. Like, that's the end of the day. And if he's not, and it's not going to be able to work, that would really suck. But you'd also like to know that you can maybe pivot in a different direction.
I mean, I guess the good thing would be that Zach's been doing it basically for the entirety of the time that he's been out. And Mike obviously has experience, having been a coordinator for 1 year with the Texans before he got his head coaching job with the Titans. So that's going to do it. For those listening to the show, we ask that you subscribe to the podcast, like and leave a review. And for those watching the show on CLNS, go ahead, hit the like button. Subscribe to the Patriots Press Pass YouTube channel, where you can find our show and a lot of other great Patriots content and league content as well. And please make sure to turn on your notifications so you know the instant a new video drops. He is Will Parkinson. I am Mike Giardi. We will be back again with you next week. Have a great weekend. Beat the heat, because it's hot here in the Northeast, which I appreciate. I'm ready for it. We have mandatory minicamp next week for the Patriots, and we'll bring you a lot of coverage from what's happening there, what's happening with the Jets, what's happening everywhere across the league. So we appreciate you tuning in as always. Tell your friends. We'll see you soon.